Hi there guys, and in this video I'm going to be taking a look at drizzling an image. So we're working at the moment on the whale galaxy. So I processed it yesterday. I was quite happy with the results. We've got around, let me see, we've got 40 subs, 300 seconds each. And I've got 20 dark frames. I've never drizzled before. Now what drizzling should do is, in theory, it will increase the kind of contrast, the sharpness, and the details that you have in your image. It can increase the noise, but we can easily address that with noise exterminator tools. So in the initial early processing, it may not look quite as good, but later on I think you'll see the benefit of the drizzling. So I'm going to try this out. I haven't done it before. That's just what I've read, so I'm not basing this off of any previous experience. So it's really easy to set up actually. Just in post calibration, we're going to enable drizzle. We're going to do a scale of 2 and drop shrinkage of 0.9. Leave everything else there as default, and we apply to all groups. Not that I've got groups here. So it should be relatively straightforward to do. It does increase the file size a little bit, so there is that, and it will take a little longer with integration, but basically that's it. I've got everything set up now as I would normally in the weighted batch pre-processing script. All I'm doing is just adding the drizzle configuration to this, and there we go. So we're just going to hit run. This will take a while to run, and we'll take a look at it in a few minutes when it's finished. Okay, so that took a total of 14 minutes, not too bad, to do everything. Now let's go and take a look at the results. So what we're going to do next is the image integration. So we can close our weighted batch pre-processing, processes, and image integration. Now we'll select all of the files from our output here. So we've got the galaxies, the whale galaxy, the one from today, and all of our registered images. So these should all already have been drizzled if everything went correctly. So we open this, and we have drizzle files here also. So we go there in our registered lights, and we add these associated drizzle files. Okay, and now we can go to run, and this should now do our image integration and put all of those registered images together into one file. Okay, there we go. So these are our rejections, and this is what we're left with here. I'm going to load up my process icons. Let's just do an initial screen transfer function stretch. Take a look at what we got there. Get rid of the green. And now I'm also going to run we'll do a crop. Off this edge here. Okay, and then I'm going to use pixinsight's new gradient correction tool, which is pretty good. I gotta say, look at that. There we go. Now I'm going to run blur exterminator. Which will tighten up our stars. And you'll see it's quite noisy. and this is a byproduct, I believe, of the drizzling, which does increase noise, but we will deal with that now with our noise exterminator. So see here, we've got the blur exterminator has increased the noise even more, but our noise exterminator should just clean that up. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to run blur exterminator again, but this time I'm going to put sharpen stars down to 0 and luminance only. So let's take a look at a before and after of that. Not huge difference. Run it again with luminance only unchecked. Let's just see if this sometimes just adds a little bit more sharpening to it. So before and after, not a huge difference, but anyway, there these hot pixels here that the darks didn't get rid of, we'll remove those later in Photoshop. So this is our image so far. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use Star Exterminator, and I will unscreen the stars. So we'll just get those off onto another layer. We'll move that out of the way for the moment. So now that just leaves us with our galaxy. Now these dust motes and things here, because I didn't shoot any lights, these are all easily gotten rid of in Photoshop afterwards. So I'll show you how I address those. Okay, so next I'm going to turn off the screen transfer function. I'm going to open up a generalized hyperbolic stretch. Zoom in a little, and we'll put this into linear mode to start with, and we're going to drag this across just to kind of set the black point. We drag it across until we see that low clip start to clip, and then back it off a little bit. Okay, and then we'll set our symmetry point, and we stretch that a little bit there, and then I'm going to apply that. We set another symmetry point a little to the right, and we stretch a little bit more, but I'm not going to overdo this stretch. That's going to be enough here for now. Okay, so you can see now this is our image, and we really don't have a problem with the noise. So, you know, people who say that, you know, drizzling will increase your noise, it's really been cleaned up quite nicely by the noise exterminator tools, and we do have kind of more detail and resolution and sharpness in some of the features here. Now, let's continue to work on this. I'm going to save both of these, and I'm going to go over into Photoshop. So we'll save this in here as 080524 Whale Galaxy. This is the Galaxy file. Save it as a TIFF, 16-bit. Now we'll open up our star layer, we'll turn off the screen transfer function, and we just do a quick generalized hyperbolic stretch on this to bring out the stars. And obviously, you know, we don't want to go too far and start blowing those out. So this personal preference, however many stars you kind of like in your image, and how large you want them to be. I'm going to do it somewhere around there, kind of like that, and then I'm going to go to Save As, and this will be the same, but it will be stars. 16-bit TIFF. Okay, now I'm going to open up Photoshop. Now here in Photoshop, we will go to scripts and load files into stack. and we're going to choose those two files that we just created. Our stars and galaxy file. Just going to load both of those into here. I'm going to move the stars to the top. We put those into a group, which we'll call stars. And we change the blending mode to screen. And we can turn that group off for now. Now we'll create another group here, which will be for our galaxy. Add it to that. And this is the layer now that we're going to work on initially. So, all right, so the first thing I'm going to add in here is going to be a curves layer. We'll go to our R, and I'm going to tease out some of the red here. Now I want to get the red that is in the kind of core area, okay? So you see this here. So see, if I drag this out, we start to get red on the outer bands as well. But if I kind of keep this in check, you see now the red starts to affect only kind of core area here. So I want to bring out the red in that area. Now the green, I want to tone that down a little bit at the lower end. Maybe just drag it up a smidgen at the upper part here. And our blue, generally the blue is not so much blue data I find in most of my images. So that requires a little bit more work. So we'll pull out some of that. Now as this is a whale galaxy, I want it to maybe look like a blue whale. So let's enhance the blue a little bit there. Okay, now I'm going to add in another curves layer. Kind of repeat the process a little bit. So it's better to do it in increments rather than doing one big stretch. It's much better to do it in small stages like this, and you'll get more control and you'll get a better result. And you see that we don't have to move this graph very much to get the kind of result that we're looking for. Okay, I'm going to go to hue and saturation, and under the reds, you see we can adjust this, and that will adjust very subtly in this area here how red it is. So obviously if we drag this further over there and further over to the right, so I want to make it a little bit more red, and I'm going to increase the saturation of that. Let's take a look at our yellows. Increase the saturation of those. Our greens, I want to shift those, a little bit towards this kind of magenta, purpley red area. You see the effect it has on this upper area here by adjusting that. If we go in the other direction, it gives us a different kind of hue to those. So again, this is kind of down to personal preference. This is where the artistic part of astrophotography comes in. How do you want this to look? Do you like the kind of more towards the purple end, a more neutral kind of color, or a little bit more towards the purpley orangey on that end there? So I'm going to go kind of here, increase the saturation a little bit, and now we'll look at our cyans, our blues, and magentas. The magenta here really doesn't make much difference. There's not so much magenta in there at all. Okay, so now I'm going to put in a vibrance layer. I'm going to increase the vibrance a little bit, and I'm also going to up the saturation. Let's go back out and take a look at this. Yeah, so this is kind of what our overall image is looking like. Let's add the stars back in. So it's starting to look quite nice now. Okay, now I'm going to go to add a color balance layer. So in our midtones, we can choose how much red we want in there. So I'm going to just increase the red a little bit in the midtones. Just increase the green slightly and the blues. in our highlights, I'm going to back off the reds slightly, increase the greens a little, increase the blues. So again, you can just play around with this to get the effect and the color that you want. So I'm going to back off the green a little bit and increase our blues. Now you see how this is affecting the background color there. So we're going to address that now by adding in a levels layer, okay? So now if we go to the R, we can just correct that background, get it a little darker again, dragging the green a little, and we're dragging the blues, and that just gets our background darker again. Okay, so we haven't done any sharpening on this yet. This is just what we had. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do Shift Command Option E on a Mac, which will stamp that layer. So that now creates a kind of copy of everything that came before. Okay, so I'm going to turn off now that galaxy layer there. I'm going to create a new group here, which will be Galaxy 1. Okay, so if I turn that off, so we've got our original kind of here, so we can always, you know, turn off these layers as we want, and we can go back to our original from pixinsight. Now I've got a stamp of that, which I'm putting into here, like Galaxy 1, and now I'm going to duplicate this layer. We'll call this the high pass layer, and then we're going to add a filter to this under others, and we will go to high pass filter. Okay, so now we choose our radius here. So we're going to use this to sharpen the image, bring out some details. So we'll apply the high pass layer to there. Okay, and then we change this to overlay. Okay, now let's zoom in. Now you can see the difference that this makes. Sharpens up the details there, brings out some contrast. Now I'm also going to apply to this a unsharp mask. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to add in a channel mixer. Now we can adjust the reds and the greens and the blues, just to fine tune our colors that we've got here. Okay, so you know, it's only been an 18 minutes of kind of editing. You know, we haven't spent a huge amount of time on this, but it's looking okay. Now I said that I was going to clean up a few things in here. So we've got these hot pixels here. I'll just show you how I get rid of those. So I'll turn off these galaxy layers. We go over to our stars here, and I'm going to go to the healing brush, and I just paint over these, and it just gets rid of them. So we've got a couple of other areas here where for whatever reason my darks didn't quite remove these hot pixels. So it's very easy with the healing brush to get rid of these unwanted hot pixels there, or anything that you've got kind of in this star layer that, you know, kind of defects in the image that you want to get rid of. So that's got rid of most of them. You know, our darks did a pretty good job, but there was just a few there that we needed to get rid of, and that's it. Okay, so there we go. So that's kind of our finished image there. Now I may want to do one other thing. So in here, I'm going to create a stamp of this. And sometimes I will just take a look at using the camera raw filter. Sometimes this can help just sharpen things up a little bit. I'll increase the texture. I increase the clarity a little bit. And we can choose here how kind of exposed our highlights are. So I might just dial back the highlights a little bit, increase our contrast, bring out a little bit more detail in the shadows, dial back the blacks a little bit just to get the background darker. And yeah, so if we zoom in a little bit there, you can see the difference that this kind of makes. So we'll apply that. And then there we go. So that's basically my kind of finished image using drizzling. Now let's take a look at my image that I did yesterday, which had no drizzling. So let's open up that. Okay, so this is our non-drizzled image. You can see in here there's a lot less detail. It's less sharp compared to what we've got here in our drizzled image. Do you see the difference between the two? Processed in basically the same way. So the drizzling has definitely made a difference, I believe, to the image. Let's take a look at the pup up here, the whale pup. So again, bit more detail in there compared to in here. It's not quite as soft. We've got more definition. So I think drizzling has definitely been beneficial for this image. So I may go over a few of my others and also drizzle those and see what we come up with. So if you found this tutorial useful, please give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and clear skies, and go out there and start imaging. It's galaxy season, everyone, so you know, plenty of interesting galaxies around. Unfortunately, I don't have a long focal length, so this is about as good as I can get. Yeah, for those of you with the longer scopes, you can get closer in on these galaxies. You can get some really, really awesome images.